Hey, we're going on a side quest.
So, if you're talking about plagiarism on YouTube, the name James Somerton is almost definitely going to enter the conversation. If you're unaware, James Somerton was a very prominent queer YouTuber who talked about queer history, queer culture, especially as it pertains to movies and television shows. And this was a pretty big deal, especially just going into the 2010s. I mean, yeah, queer people were becoming more prominent in media, but generally speaking, in terms of online academia, we're sort of pushed to the wayside. Obviously, there is talk about queer culture online. No one's trying to dispute that. James Somerton was not really a front runner in this case, as we are definitely going to learn. But having a popular YouTuber who is openly queer, talking about queer culture, it was a big deal. James Somerton got a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of Patreon donations. He was cited by notable activists. He was on top of the world, but he had skeletons in his closet, and those skeletons were exposed by H. Bomber Guy in the infamous Plagiarism and You tube. This video exposed many YouTubers for their plagiarism and exposed plagiarism in general as a major problem on the website, but a massive chunk of it focused exclusively on James Somerton and his plagiarism. Why? Because James's plagiarism was insanely shameless and disgusting.
Here's a transcript of all the words James says in this hour and 25-minute long video. And here's all the parts that are plagiarized. A truly staggering portion of this video is James staring into his prompter, reading words he got by Googling movie name gay.
Almost every single piece of content this guy makes was lifted from somewhere. This plagiarism was more obvious than a high school student. Even turnedin.com could detect it. He didn't even bother to rephrase the sentence. He would just lift entire paragraphs. It was awful, and H. Bomber Guy's takedown of James Somerton was appropriately brutal as he dismantled his entire career and character. James is a fundamentally untalented person, like Lily Orchard before him. Somebody who has no idea what the hell he's talking about. But worst of all, James has no regard to the people, quote-unquote, beneath him. And his career fell apart because of it. But that's not where it ended. Contrary to popular belief, James Somerton continued on after this in a crash out that lasted multiple years that I don't think enough people know about. Look, the whole plagiarism scandal, it's fascinating, but it's not as fascinating as James Somerton's many attempts at a comeback. So today, we're covering what happened to YouTubers' worst plagiarists. Without further ado, guys, what the hell happened? Now, before we get really in the sauce about James Somerton's comeback, there's something that you need to be aware of, and that is plagiarism is not the biggest issue with James Somerton or his YouTube channel, not by far. I hated this guy long before I ever knew about him stealing his entire career, because my introduction to him was a podcast episode on asexuality. If you're unaware, I am asexual, and seeing a major queer creator talk about asexuality, I thought that would be interesting. So I tuned into the episode, and within the first, 3 minutes, this is said on the air.
Asexuality in the American Psychological Journal is still qualified as a psychological disease, a mental health disease. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong. You're wrong, Nick. If you're unaware, that is Nick, James Somerton's best friend and co-writer. He helped James with a lot of his channel. He's his point man. And James is just sitting here listening to Nick spout off a bunch of misinformation about asexuality. The DSM-5 and the APA have not qualified asexuality as a mental disorder for some time. So what the heck, man? This was something changed in the early 2010s. This is a fact that is easily Googleable, and these two are already screwing it up within the opening minutes of their podcast episode. And that's not the only problem with this episode, but it is a major one, and it opens with this crap. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, I was turned off from James Somerton. If this one episode about asexuality is filled with this kind of misinformed nonsense, I assume the rest of his channel would be too, and I was right.
Well, soldiers coming home from World War II had seen the ridiculous bodies of Nazi soldiers and Nazi propaganda and the mythical bodies that Nazis held up as perfection and thought, oh, I can do better than that.
James, we did not enter World War II to gaze at the bodies of homoerotic, sexy Nazis. Yo, what are you talking about? You see, James Somerton was plagiarizing a lot of his career, but he did change some things. He changed them to be wrong. You see, in theory, the quote-unquote benefit of blatantly stealing someone else's work is that you stole their work. You at least have good work in your video that you stole. You lifted their words, and now you're using them. You should at least be telling the truth with those words, but James can't even do that. As pointed out by Todd in the Shadows in his incredible takedown of James Somerton's misinformation. Like, I know the H-Bomber Guy video is what everyone talks about and knows about, but Todd in the Shadows did a great job at pointing out, in my opinion, the bigger problem with James. The fact that he spread misinformation to a very large audience. That he stole that information and changed it to fit some stupid narrative that he had for his video.
Basically, Jean Grey, a psychic, outs him to himself. This was mostly a parting fuck you from Brian Michael Bendis, who had been trying to add queer characters to Marvel Comics for years.
According to then editor-in-chief Alex Alonso, Bendis sold him on the idea just like any other storyline, and they ran the idea up the ladder as per usual.
Look, I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if it's just out of laziness or stupidity. I think H-Bomber Guy actually goes too easy on the misinformation, which is why I'm glad that Todd's video exists, because good lord, there's nothing that pisses me off more than somebody who blatantly lies like this. And you're gonna see that a lot as we keep on going. James Somerton is a liar. You cannot trust what he says. So when he tries to make you feel bad for him, do not let him. Now, while we're here talking about all of James's controversies besides the plagiarism, I figured, we might as well tack in a few more since we're having so much fun. James Somerton was accused of transphobia when he unleashed a massive targeted harassment campaign against Jessie Gender. Allegedly, she was critical of some of James's content on her social media, and James responded to this by sending his fans to harass her, which is great. Allegedly, she even had the cops called on her. Great job, James, really supporting your fellow queers in the community. Dan Olson, one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, he also called out James Somerton for some financial nonsense. See, James Somerton was playing the pity game on his Patreon, claiming that he's really in the sauce. He needs some finances right now, and 1,200 fans jumped in to help him on his Patreon. 1,200 new patrons. If you're unaware, that's like a big deal, guys. My financial optics were greatly changed by just 100 people joining my Patreon. James got 12 times more than that, so you can imagine how much money he was getting from those donors. Just, disgusting. Finally, besides the transphobia, the asexual misinformation, the plagiarism, the lying, all that stuff, he also allegedly catfished someone on Grindr. That's not, relevant to anything else we're talking about in this video. I only really have a few testimonies to back it up. But, it's funny. So anyway, let's talk about James trying to apologize for all this stuff. Hey, but you know who doesn't need to steal in order to be awesome and successful? Today's sponsor! This week's videos are sponsored by Tabletop Table, your dream gaming table that you just don't have yet. I got sent this incredible fully wooden gaming table from this brand, and I gotta say, I was thoroughly impressed with it. It has an ingenious magnet system that allows me to add accessories. It is incredibly portable. I mean, seriously, the whole thing fits in a bag I can sling over my arm. And it is ridiculously pretty. I mean, it's probably the nicest piece of furniture that I have in my house, which, that's saying something. I might like it more than my Lego collection, but it's a close competition. Oh, and if the table's not big enough for you, don't worry. They come with extenders. Hell, they come with tons of different extra accessories to make your gaming experience all the better. If you guys are interested, you could head down into the description down below or to the pinned comment where you can pick up your brand new gaming table. As always, supporting our sponsors does support us. Thank you so much to Tabletop Table for sponsoring this week's videos. And without further ado, let's get back to the tea. Unfortunately, you guys, this video does not have any ukuleles, nor any interpretive dancing. We may never see peak form ever again. But James' video does have a lot of crying, and a story about how he apparently allegedly tried to prematurely remove himself from the game of life. He never says directly that's what happened, but it's definitely implied, and it's the way he opens up this entire apology, which is just a tad bit manipulative when you're trying to apologize to someone. Like, yes, I did a lot of things wrong, but please pity me, okay? I'm really depressed right now because of everything that I did.
Really sorry for the things that I did in the videos. Copying people's work and not crediting them properly or at all.
Now, I want to make it clear that James is definitely not talking about all the stuff I brought up earlier. You know, he brings up some of it in brief mentions, like the misinformation, the transphobia. Those get small shouts, but the majority of the video is about the plagiarism. How he's so grateful to H. Bomber Guy for pointing this out. How he was just forgetting to credit people. He didn't mean to hurt anyone. And worst of all, a ton of the video is him blatantly blaming Nick, his co-writer and best friend. I mean, seriously, the whiplash of hearing him say that he lost his best friend, that he's not talking to Nick anymore, how Nick and he were so close, and then him going to blame him and throw him under the bus, saying that yes, James had responsibility for the channel, but stuff was put in those scripts, and oh man, side-eyeing Nick with those ones.
I'm not trying to throw Nick under the bus, which a bunch of people were saying that I was setting him up as doing, which is not true.
Flashback.
I never intended for any of that stuff to be in videos. In most cases, I didn't write it, but I should have, you know, it was my face on the channel, it was my name on the channel, I should have been,
You are throwing Nick under the bus this whole video. This isn't an apology, it's an attempt at self-castration. He's trying to get people to feel bad for him by whipping his own back and crying about how hard his life is. He talks about how it's been so difficult, how money has been tight, how he has to move out of his house because the area he lives in is too expensive, and yeah. This video was not received well by anyone. It was received even worse when he reopened his Patreon at the same time. Yeah, this guy had the guts to try and make a quick buck. I mean, that's not why he did it officially. He said that he reopened his Patreon so that people would have an opportunity to unsubscribe, which, yeah, sure, man. It would not be the only apology video that James Somerton would release. His next one was titled A Measured Response. Unfortunately, this one has significantly less crocodile tears and less mentions of James's 13th reason why. So, yeah, less fun for me to watch, but still, there's some content in this one. And it is a lot more coherent. James claims that he is trying to make amends. For starters, he has returned multiple videos to his YouTube channel open for monetization. He claims that he did this because he wants to donate the money to H. Bomber Guy's team, assumably so that they can throw it out to the authors that James was stealing from. This was news to H. Bomber Guy, who had heard about nothing of the sort. I have no idea if H. Bomber Guy ever got money out of these YouTube videos. He hasn't said that he has, so we'll say probably not until further notice. James also claimed that he would be apologizing to the authors that he stole from. However, according to Alexander Oliva, an author that James extensively plagiarized from, James hasn't even unblocked him on Twitter. Many other authors came out of the woodwork to say that they heard nothing from James. So him claiming that he's making amends with all the people that he wronged, yeah, nonsense. This guy sees himself as so far above the people he stole from, he can't even bother to DM them an apology, let alone unblock them on Twitter. Embarrassing. All this came alongside a rebrand of his channel. He was now James of Telos, which is funny because the Telos thing refers back to a movie thing he wanted to do with tons of funding that never happened. So yay, please do, James, call back to you taking a lot of money from your fans and not doing anything with it. That's really going to make everyone love your video so much. To say the least, this entire video was received about as well as a nuclear payload, and nobody was welcoming the return of James of Telos. There were some fun memes to come out of the video, my favorite being this quote right here.
I'm a cis white gay man. No matter how much I try to be a good spokesperson, I can never really truly understand the life experiences of other, far more put upon members of the queer community. This is one of the reasons that I would use their own words.
He was plagiarizing queer authors because he wanted to be a voice for those queer authors. That right there is called foreshadowing. Okay, we have a failed rebrand, failed apology, failed video re-upload. We got people crawling back up James's ass to criticize him, rightfully so. So what's next for him? Well, what's next is this statement posted to Twitter. If this message is live, it means I scheduled it before ending things. I have videos scheduled to go out over the next couple days. Nothing new. I just wanted Nick's portfolio of work to be available. I've left directions that any money from those videos be donated to the Canadian Association for Prevention. They've tried very hard to pull me back, but there's simply no life for me anymore. I've lost everything. My only friend, my livelihood, my name, and it's all been my fault. The world will be a little bit better now. Goodbye. Well, that was dramatic. Hey y'all, we've been trying to call in a wellness check on James, but we aren't currently sure where he lives. This post did come from his account, so it appears not to be fake. While it's valid to discuss this event and your own experiences related to it, please be respectful and compassionate for him. Please report posts that are celebrating this or otherwise dismissive of his humanity and well-being. Well, it's very nice of the H-Bomber Guy subreddit team to be so empathetic towards James Somerton. In case you can't tell, I am significantly less empathetic for James Somerton because I'm from the future. I know exactly what happened. It will be confirmed a little while later, while, fun fact, I was hanging out in Italy, that James Somerton is alive. James Somerton is alive and well and living on. Great. This didn't exactly work in getting sympathy for him. I mean, I think he really wanted to push some kind of narrative that H-Bomber Guy caused this horrible thing to happen, but while there were people who were worried about James Somerton, a lot more people worried about H-Bomber Guy and his reaction if James was actually dead, which I think is funny. More people cared about H-Bomber Guy than James Somerton in this case, when they thought that James Somerton might be dead. Holy crap. But in any case, I think James Somerton realized that it was definitely over for his brand in this form, so he tried something entirely new. Alright, this time we have Lady Emily on Twitter, exposing James Somerton for multiple comeback attempts. See, James Somerton decided to make a bunch of different Twitter accounts, all of which were covering various film topics, like the example she posted were covering Barbie, very much in James Somerton's normal style, except these accounts were not under his name. They were anonymous. Well, except for the Achillean boy over here. The Achillean boy had some bastardized AI version of James Somerton in the profile picture, which was not subtle. The Achillean boy also had a TikTok account. It used an AI voice and some cringy emojis to hide the identity of the person running the account.
So as the tweet says, people have been pointing out that there is no heterosexual explanation for this image in the new X-Men series.
Though eventually the account would go mask off and reveal itself to be James Somerton yet again. The Achillean boy was not the only account that James Somerton tried to make across Twitter and TikTok. My favorite being the Gay Recounter. This had a couple rebrands. He tried a few different pieces of content on here, trying to get some sort of audience to attach to his new persona. But my favorite is James Somerton rebranding the Gay Recounter as an anal account. Did he plagiarize this content? Well, according to Lady Emily's reverse Google search, no. Take that as you will. This thread by Lady Emily went pretty viral and put to bed any sort of notion that James Somerton had any possibility of continuing his career through this avenue. Yes, this story continues all the way up until April of 2025. This very year, James Somerton rebranded himself as William James, a wedding photographer. And guess what? the entire portfolio of his wedding business, it's all plagiarized, because of course it is. People were quick to point out this plagiarism and flood his reviews with negative comments, which caused him to take down the page and rebrand yet again, no longer being William James and removing any of his pictures from the account. He was now Memory Media, and, well, he's still out there. I actually found this Memory Media page on a website where you can find wedding photographers. I know it's the James Somerton Memory Media because that header image on the page, guess what? It's a plagiarized header image from this showcase YouTube video. That's why it's so low in quality. It's not an actual picture. It's not even a stock image. It's a screenshot from a YouTube video. Oh my god. I don't even know the takeaway here. I mean, this story is crazy. I've wanted to talk about James Somerton for a long time, ever since it happened, and Critical Failure finally really gave me an opportunity to do it. And I don't know, there could be a reality where one of James's anonymous accounts just posting a bunch of AI slop nonsense, there could be a reality where one of those accounts goes super viral. And God, I hate that idea. This man was incapable of doing anything on his own merit. And H-Bomber Guy really hit the nail on the head. James was talking about creatives, but he never was one. He's a business major. He's a business guy. They see themselves as above the whims of creatives. Something creative is something to be exploited. James saw a business that he could exploit and leapt onto it with reckless abandon. And it cost him his career. I don't want James to ever come back in any way. He did this intentionally. He sent target harassment campaigns when it was pointed out to him. And as his alt accounts, he's still complaining about being called out for plagiarism.
James Somerton literally built a career off ruining the livelihoods of queer creators smaller than him.
Ruining the livelihoods? Most of the stuff he plagiarized was like a decade old. You're delusional. In most cases, he listed the authors in the opening credits of videos, so that's a false argument. He cited them in a lot of cases, and not in the way the cult of H-Bomb would have preferred. Go get a hobby.
He still thinks he did nothing wrong at all, which is just so damn frustrating because, I mean, in a sense, he's almost right. Plagiarism, misinformation, these things are so commonplace on YouTube these days. It is mind-boggling. It's so normalized in the culture. James is just the guy who got called out. It happens constantly every single day, and it's so damn frustrating. In this very video, I put 3 little pieces of misinformation. Nothing too big, nothing that changes the story of James Somerton, but just 3 small things. Did you notice a single one of them? Did you suspect that I even tried that in this video? No, of course you didn't, because it didn't happen. I just lied to you right there. There is no pieces of intentional misinformation in this video. I just blatantly lied to your face. But you believed me, didn't you? It's why we need to practice good literacy. It's up to each and every one of us as individuals to verify what we're watching and consuming, to be thoughtful, literate, and critical of information, even when it agrees with you. Because in order to be guided by the light of truth, you need to be willing to see it in the first place. And so ends the tale of James Somerton. If you guys enjoyed and watched the entire thing, then leave the comment, "Dang it, James," to let me know you were loyal to the tavern. If you want to see more of our content, then you might enjoy this episode of RPG Horror Stories, where we talk about the best of the worst of Dungeons and Dragons. It's linked up in the cards, and it's an hour long, a bonus treat. But before you go, please leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to support us directly, as well as gain access to an exclusive Discord and exclusive homebrew content, then you can find our Patreon in the description. In essence, like, comment, subscribe, support. We will see you all next time. Farewell. Got a few takes on it. Hopefully it looks good.